afternoon and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View. Make sure that you hit the thumbs up to make sure we get to as many Celtic supporters as possible with the video. There's breaking news this afternoon that Celtic are ready to make a move for a Manchester United player. It's a Manchester United player, Hannibal, and the news is coming out of his home country of Tunisia. He's a player that was signed from Monaco when he was only 16-year-old for a cost of $9 million. He is entering the final year of his contract, and hence the reason that he hasn't made it at Man United, really due to various reasons, and the fact that they've been changing their manager that much recently. It is the fact that they are looking to part ways with the player due to the fact that he's not looking to sign a new contract at Manchester United. One player that knows everything about Manchester United and it was in a successful team at Manchester United was Nicky Butt. Nicky Butt made the comparison that he is a leader on the park. He is a leader on the park. He says, look, leaders always look a bit like Roy Keane, Steve Bruce, Brian Robson, that type of player. But Hannibal is a leader. He always plays his football 100 miles an hour. He's non-stop running up and down the park. This is one to keep an eye on because Brendan Rodgers has broke cover. Yes, Brendan Rodgers has broke cover and he spoke to the media today. And we're going to listen to what he had to say now, especially when it comes to the Matt O'Reilly situation.
Players, staff, everyone's been outstanding. We've just come back off a really good tour to America, and the players shaping up very well.
Yeah, good results against Manchester City and Chelsea. Can you read into that? Can you use that to build some momentum so early on?
Yeah, I think because you still have to perform. You're playing against really good players, and my experience of top clubs is that no top club even wants to lose a pre-season game. So for us, DC United, we played very well, and obviously into Man City and Chelsea. And of course, there's no trophies handed out. And
wait a minute, unless you're Rangers, Brendan, unless I just get that. Yep, unless you're Rangers, they celebrate a 3-3 draw and they won the Moral Cup. Yes, they do. You win the Moral Cup in Scotland let's move on.
Pre-season, but it's always a nice little marker for you, and also it's a chance to see young players, and across the board players are looking really sharp, really intense, and they've worked very, very hard.
In terms of this pre-season now then, how do you keep things going? How do you make sure that the standards you set last season are even better this season?
Well, that's the objective every pre-season you come into. Certainly the end part, last 3 months of the season, and then there's been a continuation really of that intensity. And I think the clear understanding of how we're wanting to play is set in with the players. So that's really nice to see, and it's just the constant process of development, improving, and the challenge always at the big clubs is making every game a special game. That's always the challenge, and here at Celtic, that's what I tend to try and do to give the players that mentality.
This time around on Sunday, albeit with them having a European game to come this week.
Yeah, exactly the same. I think Derek's teams are always well organised and competitive, so we'll expect exactly the same. For us, again, it's very much about ourselves dealing with how we want to work and how we want to play, and obviously it's a home game for us, so we want to start well and start the season with a really good performance.
I think it's important to remember that when Kilmarnock did beat us in the League Cup last season, it was at the time where there was a new manager came in. There was players that were thinking about leaving and they didn't know if they were going to get a move or not. Rio Hattati being one. I mean, his form was terrible. But I think that we are in a better place than what we were this time last summer. Let's be honest, and the players have kicked off this pre-season quite good. The play against Chelsea was absolutely phenomenal at times, and if we can carry that on into the league, which Brendan is hoping that we can do, and he's suggesting that the players are going to do that, I think we're going to get off to a cracking start of the season.
In terms of recruitment, you've brought Kasper Schmeichel in, a man you know very well. How good is it to have him with that experience in the building?
Well, just him coming in this last 10, 12 days or so has given the players a lift. We had obviously Joe here, who was absolutely brilliant, and obviously the season I worked with him last season, he was an amazing character and goalkeeper, and it was really important for us to bring in someone like that. And having worked with Casper for the period that I did, I knew his hunger, I knew how competitive he was. I also knew how good he is around these teammates, and of course coming into a massive club like this is something that he really relished. So he's settled in very, very well. He's obviously an experienced goalkeeper, but he's an outstanding goalkeeper and someone that we're very lucky to have.
How close is Paulo Bernardo to a return to Celtic?
Well, hopefully it's a matter of hours. He's due to have a medical, so hopefully he'll be well with that. But so yeah, we still have work to do. But in transfers, there's lots of moving parts. It's never as easy as just seeing a player and bringing him in. So, but we would hope by the end of August that we would have the team support it how we would have wanted, because it's so important that you cannot snooze in this game of football. You always have to be developing and improving, and we want to ensure that we have an improved squad for this season in order to take on all the challenges that we have.
All the challenges we have. Remember, we are in 4 competitions, and the big one is obviously making moves in the Champions League. We do have an opportunity to play past Christmas. We also have an opportunity with the league structure of Europe this year to try and get on a little bit further than what we've ever done in Europe.
Has it been a slow window in general, in football in general, do you feel, or is it something that it will start, the pace of the window will pick up come August, nearer that deadline?
Yeah, I think it will do. I think speaking to a lot of managers, it's been that. I think that obviously, especially with a lot of the top English teams being away, and obviously having the Euros and everything else, the squads are a little bit broken. So it's not really until they come back and all together they can see what they have, and obviously then there's a knock-on effect to that. But yeah, I think always you want to get your work done. Everyone would love to get their work done as soon as they can. We'd love to have had everything done for the first game of the season, but that doesn't necessarily always end up being the case. But for me, my hope is that we can be much stronger coming out of the August window.
The interesting part about this point in the interview with Brendan, he's got a little bit of a grin about his face. So he must know that there is things about to happen. Maybe they've poked the bear enough. Maybe Brendan Rodgers has got back from America and went, right, come on, lads, let's get this party started.
Than what we finished last season.
How hard are you trying to get Adam Ida back?
Well, Adam's a Norwich player. I said that he'd obviously done fantastic with us last season, and we'll just see what happens over the coming weeks.
In the coming weeks, it has been suggested, we'll talk about it in a minute, but Celtic are about to put in an improved offer for Adam Ida.
How do you deal with the Matt O'Reilly situation when there's apparently been bids for him to make sure that he keeps that focus while he's a Celtic player?
Well, he is. It's been actually straightforward with Matt because he's such a great professional. I think always the challenge, I think, for teams coming to a club like Celtic is that they sometimes can place a value on the league and not the player. And I've already said to the club, well, we all understand the model here. Players will come in and develop. It's not a club that you have to move on from, but obviously there's riches in other leagues much greater than ours that allows players to go and improve their conditions for their life. So we all understand that. But I think it's really important from my perspective, if a player does leave here, that as I said, they play the value for the player. And that's not something that sometimes can happen. Sometimes the value will come in a lot less. But I've worked in the Premier League. I understand the levels there. I understand the players and what the values are. So so no player will leave here unless it's for the right valuation. And at this moment in time, there's been no team that's been anywhere near that.
How competitive do you think the Scottish Premiership will be?
Interesting. I wonder if it's been Brendan Rodgers that has actually set the market value for Matt O'Reilly. I mean, Brendan Rodgers obviously doesn't want the player to leave, and he said, "Look, Celtic's the club that you don't have to leave." Matt O'Reilly does have that lengthy contract, but I wonder if it's been Brendan Rodgers that said, "Look, I'm not going to let our good players, go in the cheap anymore, and I don't think that Celtic should," which is rightly so. There's too many times that players have left Celtic, and when you look at it, it's been a bargain. It has been a bargain. So I wonder if it is the manager who's went to the board and went, "You're not accepting that." And I think that's maybe what happened back in December. I mean, if you think about it, the board, any other time, an £18 million bid comes in, an €18 million bid comes in for a player. Previously, the Celtic board would have bit the hand off of the club to get the cash. But with Brendan Rodgers being in charge of everything to do with transfers at the moment, because we have no transfer team, Brendan Rodgers made sure they got sacked because they were absolutely diabolical in the players that they signed last season. Maybe it is Brendan Rodgers that's turned around and went, "No, if you want Matt O'Reilly, the starting price is 25 million. It is 25 million, and we're not even going to entertain. We're not even going to entertain any conversation until you come in and place that bid for 25 million." Now, there is suggestions, obviously, that we all know what happened to Adam Ida. We broke that last night on the live, the fact that Adam Ida didn't want to go to these training camp, and it's been suggested that the nut jobs down in Norwich have a double devaluation of what was initially spoken to Celtic about in January. Now, Celtic have put in a bid for 4 million. This is what we know so far. They have put in a bid for 4 million for Adam Ida. It looks like they're now going to go back and put in an increased bid. And it put in an increased bid for Adam Ida, with the current situation being as it is. Now, obviously, Brendan Rodgers was asked about it, and any manager worth his salt is going to say, "Look, he's not my player, so I can't comment about it. Until he's my player, I'll comment about him." But behind the scenes, seems to be things are moving on. Now, Hannibal as a player from Manchester United. He comes from Tunisia. He has dual citizenship with France and Tunisia. He can play in centre midfield. He can play attacking midfield, the same as Matt O'Reilly. And he can also play as a right winger, which is interesting, because we have been speaking about the fact that we need to get in another winger. But would he be the direct replacement for Matt O'Reilly? That is the question. Celtic haven't been too active in looking for an attacking midfield player this summer, which means that the Matt O'Reilly one could be coming to fruition anytime soon. So it's only prudent that Celtic do make moves for a replacement, and the fact that Hannibal can play an attacking midfield role further forward could be an interesting one. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section. Make sure you join us live tonight, 8 p.m. Celtic Part Time. Make sure that you have subscribed to the channel so you can chat on the live. And by then, we hope that Adam Ida deal will be done. Brendan Rodgers says that the deal should happen in the next few hours. That's when he was asked this afternoon. I think it'll probably be any time now, won't it? Anyway, on that note, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans all around the world.